I'll be speaking on the story of revival. The story of revival. Now, revival will start from the throne room. There is throne room, there is upper room, there is classroom, and there is room to room. That's the flow of revival. The throne room, the upper room, the classroom, and room to room. Now, throne room has to do with the decision of God to bring revival. So before revival comes to earth, God will first decide to bring revival. So that decision to bring revival to earth happens in the throne room. That's in the heavenlies. Now, after a conclusion has been reached and the will of God have been consulted, and it is now in the will of God to make revival happen, then revival can now proceed from the throne room to the upper room. Now, the upper room is the location where God asks his people to wait. Every called ones knows, everyone that is called knows the upper room, because when God calls you, God does not just call so that you can start doing the work. No, He calls you into waiting first before ministering. The first call of God is a call into waiting. You have to understand all these things. I'm called by God, so I want to go and start it. It's not so fast. The first call is a call into waiting, and where you wait is in the upper room. Are you there? So after the decision to bring revival has been concluded in the throne room, now the revival then moves to the upper room. Now, after the revival, the called ones will be in the upper room, waiting upon the Lord, according to the word of the Lord. Now, upper room is now your own place of waiting. Your place of waiting is called the upper room. It's not necessarily a separate building where you go. No, it's just in that place, wherever you are waiting on God, that location where you choose to wait on God. You can be waiting on God ministerially, you can be waiting on God maritally. That place where you are waiting on God for, that place where you are waiting on God is your own upper room. So if revival will come to earth, the first place revival will show up in is in the upper room, which is the same as the waiting room. Are you there? Now, after revival has appeared in the upper room, then it will move to the classroom. So the man of God now, after he has contacted the fire of revival in his upper room, meaning in his waiting place, he will now proceed to the classrooms. Now he will take that revival to the classrooms. Now classrooms is now the ministerial ground. You know, you have waited on the Lord quietly, secretly. Now the revival fire has descended upon you. Now you go to classrooms. Now classroom is now your field of impact, your ministry. Because you have waited on God, and in the process of waiting, now the fire of revival has fallen upon you. You now go to your ministry, you go to your field of impact and affect them with the fire of revival. Now that your field of impact, that jurisdiction where the Lord has given you to have influence is your classroom. So after you have taken that revival fire, which you have received from your upper room to the classroom, then the revival will now move from classroom to room to room. Now, room to room now, that responsibility will now be vested on those people that you have affected in the classroom. So those people that you have affected in the classroom will now take up the responsibility to begin to take revival room to room, meaning they go to house to affect people with the fire of revival. Are you there? Compound to compound. I hope you get it now. So I just gave you a quick introduction to the message so that you can have more understanding as I progress. Now, revival will start from the throne room, then it will move to the upper room, then to the classroom, and finally room to room. The throne room speaks of God's decision, God's area of making decision, and the place where conclusions, are made conclusions are made in the heavens. After this spiritual part has been settled, then it can now move to the upper room. The upper room is the waiting room where the called are called to wait. The upper room is the waiting room where the called are called to wait. So from the throne room, revival will move to the upper room, which is the waiting room for the called ones. Now, from the upper room, it will move to the classrooms. Now, the classroom is the environment of each of these called out ones. After their experience of revival at the upper room, each vessel will go back to their base to start a revival. That base is the classroom. Now, it is the base of each of these people who have gathered at the upper room that is called the classroom. Now, from the classroom, then it will move from room to room. Here, those who have, you know, those who have been affected by the fire of revival by coming to the environment of those who have been in the upper room will begin to spread revival individually. Now, the room to room realities can be divided into three. Now, under room to room, you have house to house. So, those people begin to move the revival fire from house to house. Under room to room, you have family to family. They'll move it from family to family. And under room to room, you have person to person. Can you see that? Now, that's the three phases of room to room revival: house to house, family to family, persons to persons. If revival was not decided in the throne room, it won't happen in the upper room. And if it does not happen in the upper room, it won't happen in the classroom. And without classroom experience, room to room won't be a reality. If you are at the upper room, then it becomes your responsibility to take revival to the classrooms. And if you are in the classrooms, then it becomes your responsibility to take revival to room to room. If everyone performs their roles effectively, Jesus will be seen in every corridor. You see, in the book of Acts, it shows us the picture of where the apostles waited for Jesus in the upper room. That upper room is a picture of their own personal waiting locations. It can be collective, and most of the time, it is not usually collective, just as we have seen in the book of Acts. Now, the reason that revival broke out in the book of Acts was because it has been decided in the throne room. So Jesus has concluded that, okay, it's time for revival. So it is on the strength of that conclusion that revival broke out in the book of Acts in the upper room. Now, those people who were at the upper room now went to classrooms. They went to their different locations. That's their classrooms now. They went to their different locations and began to affect people with the fire of revival. Are you there? So, if you read the book of Acts, then if you have studied that book, you discover suddenly they will now preach and you see 3,000 souls coming to Christ, 5,000 souls coming to Christ. Now, those 5,000 souls coming to Christ are the effect of their classroom, uh, is the effect of what they did in their classrooms, because they have left the upper room already and each of them have gone to their classrooms, to their base, to their environment of influence, and they took that fire of revival to those places. So it now means that after they left the upper room, some of them in classrooms, they had 5,000 souls coming to Christ. Some of them have 3,000 souls and more coming to Christ. So these 3,000 souls, these 5,000 souls will now be the one to now carry the responsibility of room to room revival by going from person to person, from family to family, and from house to house. May the Lord give us grace not to fail in our duty of carrying the fire of revival and affecting people with that fire in the name of Jesus.